Good afternoon. Our team is formed by Filippo, Jose Miguel, and me, Luis Miguel. Today we are going to talk about home office and the main complications that may exist at trying to measure productivity by this way of working. The idea is also to find a way of measuring this productivity in the best possible way. Well, as I mentioned before, the aim of this project is to find a methodical way that could be useful and effective at measuring productivity at working at home. We will try to achieve this specific goal by following some simple steps. For example, first we will have to gather important information about the topic. That means gathering the information that could be useful to get to our goal. We will also have to define advantages and disadvantages and present some examples for both sides. That means the employees and the employer, and also find the economic impact of those advantages and disadvantages. Once that is done, we'll have to find the existing tools and based on that get to a proper methodical way that could help us to measure this productivity in an effective way. This way we will be able to achieve sustainable conclusion based on our real facts and a firm basis. It also is important to explain the definition of productivity in order to understand better the goal we're trying to achieve. The field of industrial engineering was first based only on production. On the 19th century, it was thought that the best way to produce was just letting people do their work, no matter how their way of doing it was. And that was before productivity could be considered as basic or as a basis. Frederick Taylor was the mentor of team management. He was the one who invented this concept. It was a new idea that was only about analyzing and synthesizing workflow. He thought this would improve the results by designing an automated process, and the goal was to improve efficiency and labor productivity, which was one of the first attempts of applying science to a certain process. As we may know, productivity is a concept that has been widely discussed. It has generally been defined as the relationship between a certain output and a certain input. It has always been related to, closely to the addition of value to a certain product or our final service. And a common mistake is thinking productivity is practically the same as measuring the amount of produced products or given services. On the right side of this slide, we got the triple P model. This model was developed in order to get a graphical view of how different involved terms are related in productivity-wise. There are 5 important terms, which are productivity, profitability, performance, effectiveness, and efficiency. All of them are directly related to the process that normally starts with an input and ends with an output. Once productivity is explained, we move to our next concept, home office. What is home office? Well, there are companies that are always trying to improve productivity inside their operations, and that is why they have come to the idea of letting their employees work at home, making work at home a new reliable option. The importance of letting people work at home is letting people manage their own time and not wasting time on traffic, for example. With all of the available technologies today, it becomes a real alternative. Of course, we could find a lot of advantages and disadvantages for each one of the sides. For example, an advantage for an employee is not spending a lot of time on traffic. A disadvantage could be spending more time at home, and this way the expenses would be a lot higher, for example, gas or water. An advantage for the employer is not spending a lot of money on renting big offices, and a disadvantage could be not having perhaps a human contact with the employee, and that could also affect the company's performance. These are just some examples. The details will be shown in further slides. It was also important to understand what people thought about the whole concept of working at home. That is why we designed a 10-question survey. This survey was answered by 65 employees. And well, how do these results help us? They help us to know better what people think about the topic and how would they think working this way would affect their performance. And that would also help us in the results analysis. Now, as we said, we're going to discuss quickly the results and how we get them, how we read them. More than 82% of the people spends more than 41 hours working per week. That means they work an average of 8 hours per day. Almost 90% of people we gave this survey are spending daily more than 1 or 2 hours on traffic. We asked them if they already have experienced it. Almost 3/4 of the asked people already have some kind of home office experience, and in addition to that, we also asked if they thought they would enjoy better their job, and most of them think it would be this way. Now we have an important point. Most of them think they would take less time working than they do now at office, and almost 90% think they would have the same performance or a better one, and that means working less and having the same performance or a better performance. This means they would work less and produce more. That means productivity could be considered as having an important growth. 82% of them think their co-workers would also have a better performance. And an important question was also, what would they do, what would they think if the company was of their own? Would they let their employees work this way? It is important to mention that 83% thought they would let them work this way because they thought it would be a better way of working and getting better results.